I'm Matthew Kaner, here in Aja Vineyards in Malibu. I'm gonna take you through on this episode of Tasting Notes how I blind taste. So this wine was supplied to me by the crew here. I have no idea what's in the bottle. It's got obviously some barrier for me to see anything other than the bottle shape. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you why tasting blind matters. So for me, tasting blind has a really good use in my wine bars, for my own knowledge. A lot of times we look at a producer name, we look at a grape name, we think we know a lot about it. We have our own backgrounds, our own ability to build a Rolodex of wines. We oftentimes judge the wine by the vintage, by who made it, by where it comes from. But when you have a blank slate and none of that information, you can truly let go of all that and really look at the wine objectively. So here we go. Let's pour this into the glass. It's a red wine, I can tell you that, confirmed. I'm just gonna pour myself a little bit to start. I'm gonna season the glass, so that way none of the outside influences of the world are gonna give an influence into what this wine is. And because we're here in a vineyard, it won't matter. I'm just gonna throw it to the right and start over with a new pour. That way, the glass has the wine itself on it to give you a basis of where to start. That way you're not smelling, you know, laundry detergent, cleaning detergent, things like that, or even LA's hard water. So now we've got a base to start with a clean glass that's been freshly seasoned, and away we go. So color intensity is on the medium side. There's a little bit of a separation around the meniscus. This is, from my visual, not looking like a full-bodied wine, so I can kind of just visually rule some things out. It looks moderately fresh in vintage. It doesn't look like it's seen a lot of bottle age. On the nose, there's freshness, there's a spiciness, there's an earthiness. It's not a punchy, over-the-top fruitiness at all. There's an influence of oak, but it's not oaky. Got a fly whispering in my ear, thinks it knows what it is already, but it's wrong. So there's a kind of asphalt tar quality that I'm getting, which these little clues, these little things that you smell end up helping down the road when you kind of file away a small muscle memory on what you're smelling and tasting. It will help at the end build a conclusion. So I get a Herbe de Provence, Garrigue, south of France kind of influenced kind of the nature element. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm in the south of France, but that's the origin of that thing. It's when you've got the Mistral winds blowing, you know, oils off of the different, whether it be lavender, or whether it be other beautiful sage and things that grow down in the south of France. You know, the oils get brushed onto the grapes, find their ways into the wine, those kind of flavonoids and flavor compounds. There's definitely an earthiness coming out now as the wine's been in my glass, what, about 2 minutes now. So I do in my blind tasting take a lot off of what I smell. For me, I get transported to places through a sense memory of scent. It's something that my whole life I've really been a big fan of the way things smell. And as a kid, I would never eat a food before I would smell it. I would make sure I smelled anything and everything I got access to. It's fun to know what a rock smells like. It's fun to know what flowers smell like, a tree branch. All this stuff at some point helps kind of the Rolodex of how to place what things smell like and ultimately what things taste like. So I'm gonna focus a little bit more on the scent, and then we'll get into the taste after that. So a leather is coming out, pronounced leather. This is something that, again, can kind of start to cross things off the list. The spice, the Garrigue, the leather, a little bit of oak, but not overly oaky. I'm not getting like, you know, brand new oak, coconutty things. Those sort of qualities that I'm getting from the nose of the wine will help me down the road to cross other things off the list. So the fruit to this wine is much more like a secondary quality of fruit. It's not big and in your face. It's not fresh fruit. It's not a wine that's meant to be fruity. This is more like the confectionery compote turned into a fruitiness. It's just an ancillary part of the wine. It's not a big, jammy, fruit-forward nose. It's not opulent in the fruit. But now I'm curious what it tastes like, so let's taste this guy, or girl. So tannins are present, but integrated. That'll also help me cross things off the list. It's not a super tannic variety, in my opinion. So an early estimation of this wine's age would be about 5 to 6 years or even newer. There's a kind of a muted quality to the fruit on the palate. which leads me to believe either the wine is going through a bit of its going to bed period where it's going to have a longer ageability, but at the moment, it's just kind of like dormant. It wants to sleep. It wants to have a little bit more oxygenation happening over time. It wants a little bit more of that ageability to come around and bottle. So that also helps me kind of understand a few things that are happening in this glass. Go back to the nose, make sure that my palate breakdown kind of lines up with where my assessment of the nose is. And I'm gonna go back to the palate one more time. But I really do, in my own personal blind tasting breakdown, I use the scent a lot more than I use the palate. The palate for me crosses things off the list. Acidity is always something that helps a lot. This wine's kind of medium to medium minus acidity. And look, I'm not from the Quartermaster Sommeliers. I'm not a Master of Wine student. I'm just someone who tastes a lot of wine and watches my friends. So the terms I'm using are things that are often borrowed from, whether it be the grid in the Quartermaster Sommeliers or just the way I watch friends break down blind tasting. But I'm in no way someone who is studious in this. I just love to do it. It's kind of a parlor trick that's fun to break down. So as I go back to the palate now, it's been in my glass about 5 minutes now. The fruit is a little bit more pronounced. We're also in a warm environment, so it's warmed up a bit. It's come more to room temperature pretty quickly here in the sun. Really focusing a lot on the leather, focusing a lot on the spice, and dark fruits, not over the top fruits. I'm getting a bit of a kind of olivey, kind of like olive tapenade. Again, kind of focusing back on that herbe de Provence thing. Now is where I try to take things and cross them off entirely. So I don't think we're in Burgundy. This is not Pinot Noir from Burgundy. I don't think that we're also in Rioja. There would be much more fresh oak. Tempranillo would show a bit different fruit quality. I'd get more oaky qualities, and also the color would be slightly different. Part of me thinks that muted fruit I talked about earlier, something I notice a lot in Grenache. Grenache is a very interesting variety. Grenache is very temperamental. It's thin-skinned, it's hard to grow. As soon as it gets barrel time, it either becomes your best friend or your enemy. So Grenache doesn't like to be overexposed to oxygen. But what's interesting in the south of France, where you get blends from, like, let's say, Bandol, there'll be high percentages of Mourvedre, where that kind of herbe de Provence, kind of tapenade thing would come in, and then they'll blend Grenache, they'll blend Syrah, they'll blend other varieties. So my breakdown here is taking me to Bandol. So overall, the bigger area, Côte de Provence, specifically to the region of Bandol. I'm gonna guess the wine is from 2015. And it's Mourvedre dominant with some Grenache. That's my ultimate guess. Let's see what I got. Oh no, I'm way off. How fun is that? We're in the wrong country, first off. This is Sangiovese, or mostly Sangiovese, probably a little bit of others as well. This is a producer of Chianti in the Chianti Classico appellation. What's humbling about that is my breakdown can be pretty right on, and the ultimate way I get to where I'm going is totally different than what the wine is. I would imagine the tannic structure to be a little bit higher out of Chianti Classico normally. It's also a Reserva level, so that shows why there was some oakiness, but not overly oaked. But hey, I love to be humbled. Sangiovese for the win. So Chianti Classico, an absolute classic. This is not just in the name, obviously, but this is when you're thinking of wines of the old world that are the most graphic examples of wines that we all should know, me included. This is one that's on the top of the list, right up there with Brunello di Montalcino and other Sangiovese-based wines from Tuscany. I got the vintage right, so at least I got part of it, and I'm also in the old world. But, you know, again, this is a very humbling thing, and this is something that now I'm gonna have to go back and study a little more to be able to get the characteristics exactly of Chianti Classico. Salud.